Aristotle of Stagira was a renowned ancient Greek philosopher, to the extent that he was simply called the philosopher, or as the man who knew everything. His intellectual range spanned over areas such as metaphysics, rhetoric, philosophy of mind, philosophy of science, botany, zoology, psychology, and others. Aristotle also proposed explanation and systematization of the concept of friendship, which we will talk about today. Friendship of pleasure. The friendship of pleasure indicates the practice of a friendly relation between people on the basis of actions which enable some type of a hedonistic exchange. When you play a sport with your buddies, for example, you meet to do another activity together that you both enjoy. Principally, you meet up with that person for a reason of enjoyment and indulgence. Children are a prime example for a friendship of pleasure. They want to engage in a friendly and social manner with others of their age. There is nothing inherently wrong about it. It is a primal instinct of doing what you want and finding company. Because we are active and also social creatures, these two things are combined more often than not. As a consequence, the joy that people get out of their activities are multiplied, and there are other emotions of competitiveness, passion and love get spiked up along the way, which adds to the great experience it already is. The problem with this type of friendship is when it lingers for too long in the life of adults and even dominates all of the person's friendships. It is a basic kind of friendship, which means that it can be built upon. You don't live on plain wood and concrete. You build the house on that foundation and live in the house. When grown-ups attach their self-worth and importance to that hedonistic relation, they lose touch to responsibility and reality. Furthermore, they lead an existence of superficiality and dependence. Those activities that adult humans do to relax and enjoy life could be intrinsically meaningless if they entail thoughtless actions, such as doing drugs and going to parties every weekend because your brain told you so. It chains you down. You sometimes do not do the activity that you like because your friend of pleasure is not there. And you would not have that friend of pleasure if there was no pleasure which you can bond over to begin with. Consider Matahachi. He cannot properly hold a bond with most people because his life revolves around pleasure. If Matahachi was sober for once, he would quickly realize, and he does at some points in the story, that he cannot build any meaningful friendships and relationships. Wherever pleasure dominates, life becomes devoid of purpose. If we were to imagine that Takezo didn't turn into Musashi, but rather gave up on his ambition and went down a drunkard road, he and Matahachi would have stayed the best of friends and inseparable forever. Musashi didn't do that though, and as a consequence, started elevating himself to new planes of existence, which seemed like barriers for their friendship, and Matahachi himself knew that and expressed it. Friendships of pleasure are basic types of friendships that revolve around enjoyment of something with the company of another human being. They often don't suffice to fulfill the longing for meaning and restrain our actions. Friendship of utility. If you have something of use to gain out of someone, and that is the main cause for you keeping in touch with that person, you have a friendship of utility. You ride the bus every day and have developed a connection to the bus driver. Once the bus is out of commission and you don't see the driver anymore, your friendship goes away. You don't search for each other, and your contact, which was predicated on the bus ride, disappears. The same with the hairdresser, barman, taxi driver, waiter, etc. Many of those include the exchange of money for service. Money is always to be taken and given in an action of trade. If it is to be removed from the equation, would the other person still want to stay about? And why should he? You don't quite know each other. Even if you talked about more deep topics, your time is limited until the procedure you base your friendship on is over. That is not to say that you cannot build on that type of friendship, but it is once again restricted. There is a when that happens, and if I gain that from our meeting, then I will go. Subconscious, if then constellation. We don't think I will not talk to my classmate because I just want his homework, and that's a friendship of utility. We just do it, and it is so. Interestingly enough, Matahachi and Musashi don't fall under this category. There is no valuable reciprocity to be had between them, which unfortunately is mainly being caused by Matahachi. He would want to become renowned and admired for his skill of the sword, which he could potentially learn by Musashi, but Matahachi seems to not have it in him, and lets jealousy and weakness of character cloud judgment. Their friendship could have gone on a path from primal form of childish friendship to a master-student relationship, but it wasn't destined so. Friendship of utility has the basis of exchange of physical value at a particular time. Once those constants of value and time cease to exist, the friendship loses its stability and crumbles to pieces. Friendship of virtue. Friendship of good or friendship of virtue is rare. Two or more people see each other for who they are and support and love each other for that reason. However, it is not the case as today's fat encouragement movement understands the concept of acceptance. This friendship is exactly for that reason hard to find because the people in it are themselves virtuous, hard-working, good people who want to push you forward as well. There is neither stoppage in their strive for greatness, nor in the one in the friendship. It could be said that the friendship of virtue contains the last two friendships in part, but isn't based on the same foundations as them, being pleasure and utility. Those two friends can have fun with each other through physical or intellectual activities and can achieve some type of benefit through that. Although, in the end, it all comes down to the acceptance and support, regardless of all conditions. For example, your body undertakes a new kind of challenge in comparison to the last one, which you might have partaken in, and works hard to achieve the best in that endeavor. At this point, you don't get resentful at him, because you two are not quite trying to reach the same goal, but rather encourage him. If he slacks off, you remind him. Or if he pushes too hard, you try to loosen him up. Conversely, your friend does the same to you. It must be said that with this type of friendship, it is debatable how much virtue you need to possess in order to stand under this category with someone else. How much courage should you have? How much intelligence? How much fortitude? It is possibly best when you are both on the way to maximizing those traits and befriend each other. Aristotle and Montaigne talk of love here, but not romantical. It is a warm flame that never gets colder or weakens. As much as Matahachi cowers behind his own fears, this does not completely hinder his friendship with Musashi. His character is at fault here, not the friendship itself. Matahachi's connection to Miyamoto Musashi is not as it was with Shinmen Takezo, but despite all his flaws, Matahachi still tries to do the right thing in this relationship. He leaves Takezo alone, seemingly to his death, against the bandits, after which, assuming that his friend is dead, cries and mourns his death. On numerous occasions, Matahachi drags Musashi to some place safe before he dies after a battle, like after the 70-man battle or the first Yoshioka battle at the dojo. It is clear that Matahachi cares for Musashi, even though they don't share the same activities and are not bound by anything anymore, be it something pleasurable or practical. Matahachi is in little ways virtuous. He is cowardly, fearful, ignorant, a drunkard. Yet, I would still count their friendship as a virtuous one. Matahachi grows as a character. He doesn't become a formidable warrior or scholar and doesn't make a name for himself, but he matures. At one point, Matahachi confesses, albeit drunk and to an unconscious Musashi, that Otsu is not for him and sees that she loves Musashi. He encourages them both, as Otsu also hears the confession that they should get together. Finally, he states that he fears Musashi's might and bloodthirst, but loves him nonetheless. And what better way is there for your friend to support you than to tell your story of improvement to excellency amidst chaos and hate from other people? Friendship of virtue is the friendship where the participants are virtuous and good people who aim for the heights of good and help and support each other on the way.
Wishing to be friends is quick work, but friendship is the slow ripening fruit.